on the screen. Yeah, that was on.
That one's off, okay.
That was Christmas.
Our clock's off, but according to the boss, it's 5:30, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And that'll move us down to the consent dockets, and we have items A through F on the consent docket. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent docket? If not, is there a motion on the consent docket?
So moved, we accept it. Second.
Motion and a second to accept the consent docket. And it passes 5-0. And that'll take us down to public hearings. See public comment regarding a request by P&T Investments for map amendment. We get good notice on this?
Yes, sir.
Got good notice, wonderful. Ms. Evans.
Good evening, Patty Evans, Development Services. This application is for a map amendment to change the zoning from RT 2 family to O office for property addressed as 424 West 9th Avenue. And what have I got on here? Okay. Don't know where that came from. The next slide. The property is located on the northeast corner of 9th Avenue and West Street. The property to the north, east, and south is zoned the same as the subject property, RT, 2 family. The zoning on the west is RSS, small lot, single family. A quarter of this block is already zoned office, but it is not adjacent to the subject property, and that's the northeast corner here in the purple or lavender color. Office is the least intensive of the commercial zoning districts and is considered a transition district between more intense commercial and residential. This block may be considered a transitional block between the business districts and, transitional, because this, just east of this blue area over here is the community center. Commercial zoning is on the north and south of the community center, and so it can be a transition between all of that intense use to the residential. The current structure on the property is a single-family residence. I believe the plan is to demolish this structure and build a 2-story building with offices on the ground floor and living quarters above. This is considered mixed use, which is a use by right in the office zoning district. Findings include the proposed office zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 1/4 of the block is already zoned office. The block is a transition area between the downtown and single-family neighborhoods. And that's it. Is there any questions?
Any questions of staff right now?
And it is on 9th Street?
Yes. It is,
West.
Yeah,
yeah, this is 9th right here,
Vertically located.
and this is west, running north and south.
One block north of this is the First United Methodist Church, is that correct?
Yes, this office zoning belongs to the church, even though there is nothing on it except they use it for parking right now.
I also believe the house has been removed.
Oh,
Currently,
okay.
it's been removed. Any other questions? Thank you. We do have one request to speak in favor. Ms. Harris?
Good evening. Kelly Harris at 923 South Lowry with Keystone Engineering, here representing the owner. The lot has already been sold, and the previous residential house has been demolished already. And the plan is to turn it into an office, attorney's office on the first floor and their residence on the second floor. But of course, this is just a straight rezoning, so you have to consider everything that's possible in office. So this is a mixed use, like Patty was saying, and that is an allowed use by right for that zone. We also have come through and requested that, I'm not sure how to get that picture back up there. Oh, great. 20 foot of the right-of-way has already been requested to be closed, and I believe that may be in an ordinance tonight. So we've asked for that. I may have said something wrong. If we haven't asked for it, we will be. I'll put it that way. For that 20 foot of right-of-way to be closed, but that'll be in the future. And really, we just think this is a good transition area. The whole block along Ninth Street has the opportunity to become office. Along that major thoroughfare, 9th Street, and then Duck is just right there to the east. It's just a good transition to the RM, RTM, and the smaller RSS lots to the west. You have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Not this time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do not have anyone signed up to speak in opposition, so we'll close our public hearing. Ms. Evans?
The Planning Commission at its regular meeting on December 18th, 2012, by a vote of 5 to 0, recommended approval of the map amendment. Any other questions?
Questions for staff? Do we have a motion on this Planning Commission recommendation?
Move approval. Second.
A motion, a second to approve Planning Commission recommendation. That passes 5 to 0. And I'll take us down to general orders. Mr. Galloway.
Okay, I've placed on the agenda for your consideration this evening, it's a memorandum of understanding. This has to do with economic development efforts in our community. I think you're all very aware that we have several entities in our community that have been doing some fantastic work in terms of economic development. We contract with the Chamber on an annual basis. The Chamber has been a lead agency in primarily in industrial and manufacturing recruitment. We've got the Mercury Marine building filled with ASCO, and we have Total Energy, and the building was vacated by Quad Graphics, and they continue to grow, and that's part of economic development. They've also have dealt with some of our retail development over the years. That area has picked up in activity, and the city has taken on that chore of retail development. But OSU is very involved in many aspects of economic development through their research part of their programs, through the Center for Innovation and Economic Development, the Stillwater Industrial Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization of investors that help to finance industrial development. So many of these activities going on. And I think we've done a pretty good job of staying in touch, but I think at times all the entities are very concentrated on their role. And several months ago, primarily Lisa Navarcall and myself, and we asked the mayor and OSU and SIF and the Chamber board members, we've had a series of meetings, and how do we make certain that we're all communicating on a regular basis, that we coordinate our efforts and support each other's efforts so there's not a duplication, so that we don't leave gaps. I think as a community, if we better communicate all the economic development efforts and better coordinate that, we can get more bang for the buck, using a phrase. But I think it makes it more efficient use of all of our resources. We need to support each other. We do, but I felt that having a formalized group to commit to carrying out this coordination and communication on a regular basis couldn't do any harm, but could help. So we drafted this memorandum of understanding, which would simply give the city, the university, the Stillwater Industrial Foundation, and the Chamber of Commerce an opportunity to formally commit to work together on a joint communication and coordinating effort through the Stillwater Economic Development Authority, the Development Advisory Council. It's advisory because I'm not recommending that we create a new legal entity. It doesn't have any power to spend money. It doesn't have any authorization to adopt plans, but it has the ability to look at all of the economic development activities that we are all doing, make observations and recommendations on how we coordinate that in a cohesive plan. I think would give us as a city, the chamber, the SIF, and we also need to have this group to better coordinate that we work with other partners. Payne County is getting more involved in economic development. They'd be a huge valuable player. Having this coordinating group, we can open those communications with the county. We can better coordinate with Meridian Technology, with Tech Park. And, you know, I don't mean to go on and on, but I think this is really a key part to put this coordinating group together to ensure that everybody working on economic development is on the same path. And I would certainly recommend the council approve this, authorize the mayor to sign it. What I've asked, I've sent copies of this to OSU, to the chamber, and to the Stillwater Industrial Foundation. They've reviewed it. I'm hopefully that their boards will authorize their signature of this agreement as well, and hope to have the first initial meeting in February. Again, we have met informally and cooperatively, but a commitment to a regular, ongoing communication, I think, is vital. So I would be glad to answer any questions you have about it, but I would highly recommend the council's approval.
Just a point of inquiry, and if it's my mistake, I'll eat it.
Okay.
But I haven't read that memorandum. Have I got it?
Yeah, it was in your packet.
I went through my packet today and I didn't find it.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, yeah, it's, and it's,
I went through everything today, so. But that's okay.
but it's, you know, and discussed it with you a little bit this morning, Counselor, but, and I don't think I left anything out. It's strictly communication and coordination. I think as a group, they can collectively make suggestions to the council and recommendations to the council or the chamber or any entities. But again, it's very clear in the memorandum that none of the entities are giving up any authority. All the authority is retained by the individual entity.
And I think that last point is a very important point, because that was part of our discussions as we were working through it, was do we create a new distinct entity that would have actual powers and monies allocated to it and hardcore decision-making abilities. And that was where we got to where we were, is that our first step, we don't need to just create something new for the sake of creating something new. What we want to focus on is that coordination, and this accomplishes that while giving each of the individual entities full control still of what they're working on. Like Mr. Galloway said, the goal is to prevent gaps and to help eliminate duplication of efforts that don't need to be duplicated. It's a coordination method, and I think it's a wonderful step to help us grow and help us move forward.
So the organization wouldn't have a budget per se, and there would not be any employees?
All the entities retain their own employees and their own budgets. I think this would be a valuable group to look at all those programs and make suggestions on how they can better mesh and jointly use our resources. But they don't have any authority, just recommendations.
Never hurts to communicate and talk and coordinate.
Very true, and in a formalized manner as opposed to just kind of ad hoc and.
And I think it sends, you know, a public message to all of us as we're, whether it's the chamber, whether it's the SIF or the city, we are talking with local people, local developers, industry, trying to look at our community and to show them that we have a coordinated economic development consortium, I think is a positive image for the community.
Agreed. Okay. Any other questions?
Not this time, sir.
Well, I would make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding between the city of Stillwater, the chamber, and the Industrial Foundation, Oklahoma State University, to create the Stillwater Economic Development Authority, Stillwater Development Advisory Council.
I would second Mr. Weaver's motion.
We have a motion and a second on this. And that motion passes 5-0. It may be down later on future items, but I guess our next step is who are our representatives. We've got to figure that out
Yes.
for a meeting.
You can do that tonight, or you can do it at your next meeting. I'm hoping all the entities can name their representatives by the end of the month. I'd like to call a meeting in February.
Well, we can, let's put, well, we'll talk about that when we get to future agenda items. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, next on our agenda is under resolutions, and it's an amended resolution 2012-19. It was an amending the proclamation.
Yeah, it amended the election proclamation. As a result of the redistricting that happened last year of the precincts in the county from the 2010 census, we now need to open up an additional precinct that we had not opened in the past. So this just simply opens up that precinct.
I asked what the amendment was. I couldn't find it. Easy enough. Okay, is there a motion, any questions on this resolution?
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on resolution 2012-19. And that passes 5-0. And then takes us down to ordinances, and we have a first reading on ordinance 3218. Mr. Dorman.
An ordinance closing a portion of right-of-way of West Street adjacent to property addressed as 424 Southwest Street.
Okay, and this is adjacent, Ms. Evans, this is adjacent to our public hearing property. Is it? No.
No.
Oh, that's at 9th. I apologize. This is 4th and West. I apologize. Public hearing from 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
I would move approval of ordinance 3218.
Second.
Got a second?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second on this one. That passes 5-0. Nothing on second reading. Mr. Dorman.
Request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307B4 for the purpose of confidential communication regarding pending workers' compensation claims filed by Ian Groshong and David Helton. It is my opinion that public disclosure of these matters will seriously impair the ability of the City Council to process these claims and/or conduct an investigation and/or to prosecute or defend any resulting litigation or proceeding in the public interest. I'm withdrawing my request for an executive session on the Harold Payne workers' compensation claim.
Okay, so just items 1 and 2.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Galloway.
Nothing other than I just want to mention again, on the consent docket tonight, the council accepted the deeds to the property from the county, Payne County, for the southwest corner of the block that we own the balance of. It's the corner of Duncan and 9th. And again, we have memorandums of agreement to continue to coordinate with our jail facilities over time as the state and seek state authorization. But I just wanted to express my appreciation to the county for that cooperation. And our plan is to, we're in the process of having the old plumbing or lumberyard building removed. We'll probably also look at the same process for the Quonset building. And then the council will be able to deal with development issues of that city block. So I appreciate the county's effort.
Very much so, very much so. Counselors, do you have anything?
I would only say today is me and my girlfriend's 2-year anniversary, so I wanted to say hi. I told Mr. Owen.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, just so everybody thinks that I don't read. I've read everything that I could get on this thing today, but evidently I didn't get everything on here today. So
Yeah, I apologize.
every week it is a new endeavor. So,
Is that not the beauty of technology?
hey,
Anybody?
I think I'm pretty technical literate.
I don't. I
I've only
can't
got a
do it.
couple things. Tomorrow on KSBI 780 at 8:15, Counselor Scott will be on. And then next Tuesday, the 15th, will be the vice mayor. And then on Thursday, I will be on Triple Play Radio at 7:05. So we're getting out there and listening, and you can hear even more of what all we're working on. Okay, items for upcoming meetings. Mr. Galloway, at our next meeting, can we talk about appointments
Yes, sir.
to the advisory council? Anybody else having?
CDAC.
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 If only we had a committee to make better acronyms.
Well, it's government acronyms. So. And then I guess it's not really about upcoming for this agenda or this meeting, but tomorrow is our first CEDA, Stillwater Economic Development Authority, the amendment to CIRA. That first meeting is tomorrow at 11:30 right here. So it'll be televised at 11:30 tomorrow.
It's a brief one tomorrow. But,
Anybody else have anything for upcoming meetings? Okay, we don't have any appointments, and so we have an executive session, but before we do that, we're going to recess city council meeting, and I'm going to call to order the utility authorities meeting. And on that agenda, we have a consent docket with just the minutes on it.
Move approval of the meeting minutes of December 17th.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second on the consent docket. Passes 5-0, and it takes us down to general orders. Perkins Road Booster Pump Station Amendment.
Hey, good evening, Mayor, trustees. My name's Eric Flady. I'm a recent hire as a water utilities construction program manager. So this is my first project to present to you guys. Big deal.
You're going to be busy.
yeah,
Welcome
we
to
keep-
Already am. Already am, and happy to be. This request is for an amendment to an existing contract with Garber Engineering. It's to add some additional funding capacity for additional water line to their contract for the Perkins Booster Pump Station. Just to remind everyone that this booster pump station, the purpose of it is to provide water and supply the 56th Street Tower or Avenue Tower to then service the southwest zone. So this is a critical piece of infrastructure. It'll get us back on board where we need to be with the pressures in that area. Background information, Guernsey late this summer completed their conceptual analysis of the hydraulics for a location that was provided by Rural Water District number 3 to place this booster pump station. So they verified that yes, this location hydraulically will work. The next step was then contracting Garber Engineering, giving them notice to proceed to start moving forward with design of this booster pump station. In doing so, they finished their preliminary design and final hydraulic report in December last month. One of the things with this report, it indicated that the existing water main that runs down Highway 177 does not provide enough pressure for the pumps that we need to service the 56th Street Tower. So this amendment is for the additional design capability to provide an additional water line that will come from the closest location, which is 32nd Street. It's about 850 additional feet to get to the new booster pump station so we can send the water down the line. The total amount for this is $24,400.
The only thing I noticed, and it's not a big deal with me, but you got an engineer's estimate, and you also estimated that it would take $5,000 more, but your final bottom line is $10,000 higher. With the information on my computer today.
We got the engineer's proposal, negotiated proposal came in at $19,400. Because of some, we'll call it undiscovered site conditions, that we'd like to further investigate and have the capacity to do that, to verify the design documents that we will provide our contractor have as much, we'll say, fidelity of what's actually out there with competing utilities. We programmed an additional amount there to do what's called potholing and give that availability or capacity, again, if needed. It's our hope that that money would not be expensed and can go back into the city's budget. We just want to have that assurance so I don't have to come back to you guys for
That's probably a good idea.
a little bit
I think it's
extra.
better to check it down than be surprised during construction.
You're right, you're right. But this again
I
for
don't
us,
have a problem when you get to the bottom line, but $5,000 discrepancy in the information you provided us at first. It's all right.
understood.
Any other questions?
Trustee, I would move approval.
Second.
Motion second to approve this amendment.
Thank you.
That passes 5-0.
Thank you very much, sir.
And our second item under general orders is bid recommendation for the transformer for the Kinsey substation.
Good evening, trustees. Dan Blankenship, SUA Director. This is simply the bid recommendation to replace the transmission class transformer that has gone bad at the Kinsey substation. We advertised for bids. We received a little over half dozen bids, and the lowest responsible bid was submitted by Virginia Transformer in the amount of $695,275, and that is our recommendation that we award that bid to Virginia Transformer. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have a question, but I do want to say I greatly appreciated in this report the talking and the conversation about the cost of loss adder.
Oh,
where it
yeah.
wasn't just the cost of the transformer, but the ongoing cost, how that could be different between each bid. And I thought that was very good information, but more importantly, I was very pleased that that's part of the analysis.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate that in the report.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's our standard practice is to do a life cycle analysis of that piece of equipment, because depending on the losses of a certain transformer, it could make a huge difference over the lifespan, the ultimate cost. So thank you for recognizing that.
I move acceptance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And that passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship.
Okay, that is everything on the SUA agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Pina? There we go. There we go. And that passes 5-0, and SUA is adjourned, and we'll reconvene city council meeting. And is there a motion to convene an executive session?
So moved.
Second.
It was all there. I don't know who said it.
I move to accept.
And that motion passes.